Well, I told you yesterday the Pirates would zig with these Rule 5 choices, and boy, did they zag. Dauri Moreta DFA'd? Yeah, let's talk about what they did, what they didn't, and why it matters.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Pirates on the #1 daily sports podcast network for all you everydayers out there. Thanks for making me your first listen. And hey, December's coming fast. The Everydayer Club launch is right around the corner. Can't wait to tell you more about that. I'm Gary Morgan, former editor at SteelCityPirates.com, covering the Pirates since 2019. Lifelong fan. I've seen just about everything, or at least I thought so. Yesterday was a banger. Here's what we got today. First, we'll compare yesterday's predictions on Rule 5 protection, what the Pirates actually did. Spoiler alert, they surprised me. Then we'll talk about Jeff Passan dropping a few nuggets, and I guess some would call them bombshells, about Mitch Keller, Kyle Schwarber, and a wild Josh Naylor rumor that tells us something big about this front office. Finally, the Konnor Griffin buzz. Could a 19-year-old really win the shortstop job in spring training? Let's dive in. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Boy, we love FanDuel. Make sure you support them. They're really helping us out here. Segment 1 is about the Rule 5 protection decisions. Let's go basically and show you how wrong I was yesterday. Let's start with the Rule 5 decisions because this is where the Pirates really threw me a curveball. Yesterday, I told you that they would protect Antoine Kelly, Brandon Bidois, Esmeralda Valdez, and I tossed in a maybe for Wilber Dotel. Well, they kind of did a lot more than that, didn't they? They ended up adding Esmeralda Valdez, Jack Brannigan, who we discussed yesterday, Wilber Dotel, Antoine Kelly, and Brandon Bidois. So the big surprise there was Jack Brannigan. Until I got to the name left-handed pitcher, and I can't believe that I didn't think of it. Tyler Samaniego. You know, I knew he was doing okay. It's not like I didn't think about him. I even considered him as an option to help the team last year when they needed lefty help. It didn't cross my mind this year. I saw his name. I just glazed right past it. Shocking. I understand it, though. Again, this is a left-handed reliever. They need those. He really came on last year, and with a reliever, you don't necessarily care about age as much. So he's been protected. To make room, they've done some DFAing. Alexander Canario didn't surprise me all that much. We talked about that possibility yesterday. Ronnie Simon, we talked about that being a possibility. They also decided to get rid of Colin Holderman. Okay. So what was the big shock? Dauri Moreta. Boy, that shocked me a little bit. If only because I thought, here's a guy who was pretty good, when he first debuted with the Pirates, went down with the Tommy John surgery, fought his way back, took him a little longer than I think that he or the team thought it would. Finally gets back. He's not quite right. Now, if you've listened to this show for a while, which we all know many of you do and have, you've heard me say before, this is way back when Dauri Moreta was returning from the IL. Everything was going to come down with Dauri on how that reverse slider worked. Okay? And the problem with that reverse slider was how much stress it put on his elbow. In other words, yeah, he's fully recovered from the Tommy John, but two things. One, that pitch isn't coming out the same way it was. It just isn't. There's something about it. They've either tweaked something with his technique to protect his elbow, or he has, because that pitch just wasn't coming out the same way. It was such a unique pitch, and it devastating because it had like this reverse tail on it that nobody seemed to know what to do with. It wasn't the same as a two-seamer that kind of darts in. It had slider motion. There's no other way to call it. It was a reverse slider. It really was. It didn't seem to adhere to the rules of physics. Well, turns out it did, because it broke his elbow doing it. And I think that was probably a big factor here. In fact, I've talked to some people, and it seems like that really was a big factor. It's not that he's not fully recovered from his injury. It's that in order to stay healthy, they and he kind of think that pitch needs to at least become much less devastating. And if that pitch is much less devastating, guess who else is much less effective? Dauri Moreta. Right. I wouldn't be shocked to find Dauri Moreta re-sign with this club on a minor league deal with invite to spring training. I would think you might be able to see something like that happen even with potentially Alexander Canario. I don't think that Colin Holderman will get to that point. The arm talent is crazy. Like I said, somebody will feel like they can chip the edges off of that raw gem and turn it into something and change of scenery. You know what I mean? Now, Jack Brannigan, I just didn't think they'd pull the trigger yet because of the injuries. I really didn't. The talent, it's undeniable. It really is. He has power, and he will rival Jared Triolo as a fielder at third base and shortstop. He's capable of both of those positions. Pirates need those positions, even if they're filled this year. Even if, as we get to segment 3, it looks like shortstop's locked up. There's nothing wrong with bringing in another talented fielder who can hit. So if Jack Brannigan can put the foot down on the gas this year, very good chance that he figures his way into the mix of this infield. Boy, all of this is just setting up for some trades, isn't it? They've got now 24 pitchers, I believe, on their 40-man roster, and I believe 22 of them are right-handed. So, well, no, 21 of them are right-handed. So that's a lot. Feels like there should be a little bit of a mix here, a little bit of a shakeup. I think we could see that. I'm not shocked about Colin Holderman. Again, I think we talked about that. It just felt like for whatever reason they weren't getting through to him. The only caveat that I could really put on Colin Holderman and why maybe you would have a little trepidation there about letting him go. I mean, I always compare him to early days Clay Holmes. You're probably sick of hearing that sort of thing. And it may never pan out with him. So I'm probably just piling on the evidence that I'm an idiot. But Colin Holderman has that kind of stuff. The fastball is so freaking real, and the movement on his pitches is disgusting. I'm shocked a little that they didn't at least want their new pitching coach to get eyes on him. It was very clear whatever Oscar Marin was trying to do with him wasn't working. It wasn't getting through. He had lost trust. I think all of that is valid. Okay. That said, maybe there's something bigger here at play where they're just seeing something in the head. It's nothing physical. He's performing well in the bullpen. I've actually heard from guys that caught him in the bullpen tell me they couldn't understand what was happening to him because what he was doing in the bullpen, he was throwing unhittable stuff, and then he goes out in that mound and just for whatever reason gets the yips. things weren't landing, things weren't being placed, gripping the ball a little too tight. Like maybe there's stuff there that this team just felt like they couldn't solve and or don't have time to. Alexander Canario, did that surprise you at all? The only reason I ask is because it's a center field option. We know, but we have O'Neal Cruz there, and we're a little bit worried about that. But they kept Jack Sawinski, at least so far. The tender deadline isn't until Friday, but they kept Jack Sawinski, at least for now. That's your center field backup, unless they do something better. It really is. Now, while these moves were surprising, what Jeff Passan reported, or Passan, sorry, I don't want anybody to correct me in the comments again, as if it really matters how I pronounce some writer's name. But he reported some really interesting things about the Pirates yesterday. And segment 2, we're going to dive into it. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to the fourth quarter big comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game interesting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates, on the number one sports network in all of the land, Locked On. It's really, really fun to be here with you, talking about some interesting stuff for once. I mean, like, not guesses about what might happen, but stuff that actually happened. It's kind of exciting to be in my position and be able to talk about some of this stuff now. So Jeff Passan dropped 2 nuggets that have the baseball world buzzing. Mitch Keller, this one's not quite as exciting, but something that, it's nice to have confirmed. And I think it is a little bit of a different angle on it. Jeff put forward that on Mitch Keller, the market needs to heat up a little bit before we really get into this. And he needs to be the beneficiary of free agent prices getting insane for starting pitchers. The Pirates will move him, would move him, would be willing to move him, probably the best way to put it. But Keller is considered a big part here, and it's going to take a decent amount. So the prices are going to have to come up above what seems fair. And by that, I mean, if you were to trade Keller with no pressure, right now, and there's still all these free agent options out there on the board and other trade candidates out there on the board, there's a good chance you're just not going to get the kind of return that you're really looking for from Mitch Keller. And you might be better off just keeping him. And I think that's where they are. They're willing. I think they're listening. I think they will listen. I don't think it's inevitable. And I also think some of the other things Jeff reported here make me feel like that Keller report, and I've heard this now, it is no longer something that we should see as a necessity as far as them getting somebody signed. They're not afraid to spend a little bit of money without making it first, at least based on these reports and what I'm hearing. Schwarber interest. The Pirates actually have it. They have reportedly checked in on Schwarber. They've reportedly posted up at least a minimum proposed deal for him. I've heard 4 or 5 years is in play. I've heard they would be willing to talk about broaching $30 million. The difference is other teams are going to do a lot more than talk about broaching $30 million. So I guess what I want to say is, while that Kyle Schwarber nugget is interesting, I don't believe they have a real chance of landing him. But I think what's important is to just realize that the dollar figure was out there. Almost like the other report that came out about the Josh Naylor signing, okay? Josh Naylor ended up staying with Seattle. The Pirates reportedly offered north of $80 million to get Josh Naylor to come play with the Pirates. Keep in mind, they've got a first baseman. Josh Naylor was going to be a DH. And this team that has never, ever signed a free agent for more than 3 years and $39 million total, Francisco Liriani, shout out. They offered north of $80 million to sign a free agent. It's a big bat. Tells you a couple things, couple important things. One, boy, they're really valuing that lefty power bat. It's the lefty power bat specifically that they're on the hunt for right now. And what they're going out there to try to be, looks like, at least in the top tier of interest out there. I've heard that Cody Bellinger is being courted. Now, we've seen them swing and miss on Cody Bellinger before. But again, the Pirates are one of the teams that's actually willing. And one of Cody Bellinger's bigger suitors is the Yankees wanting to bring him back. Well, they just brought Trent Grisham back for $22 million because he signed the tender contract. That's insane. You know, I mean, like, that's a lot of money for Trent Grisham. I don't know. I'm the Yankees certainly have the money. It's not like they can't get Bellinger done. But maybe they don't want to have 80, 90 million wrapped up in their outfield. You know, I'm just saying he could shake free, and it wouldn't be like other teams wouldn't be in on Bellinger. I mean, the Cubs are going to probably lose Kyle Tucker. They'll be interested in Bellinger. You know, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, but if the Pirates are really, really going to go out there and try to take one of those guys, well, I think they first would have to embrace they're going to have to overpay. And you're probably going to have to be willing to take in an opt-out, if not a two-sided mutual option type thing. Multiple years is a must. Looks like we've crossed that hurdle at least. The offers that I've heard they've put out there for players so far have all been multiple year. Well, these are big guys that they're going after. If they miss them all, this is not going to look good on them. Like, I saw some fans out there talking about this is all PR for the Pirates. What are you even talking about? How's this PR for the Pirates? They're not going to sign the vast majority of these guys that get rumored. Okay, like, there may be 10, 15, 20 guys rumored this year that the Pirates are interested in. If they sign one or two of them, we don't rate these things as journalists or talking heads as, you know, like we do baseball averages. I'm not going to go, well, they hit 300. You know, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say they missed on these guys that really could have impacted their roster. They didn't miss on these ones that are just kind of there. They're willing to spend big even if they miss. If that 80 million turns into 2 or 3 solid contributors, this team could be much better than anyone expected. Don't dream on Schwarber, but maybe start believing that they're a little bit more serious than they have been about adding some impact talent. Again, we're really early days here, and a lot of these things really are just rumors. And I don't believe the Pirates can pull anything like this off without probably overspending a little bit. Okay, like, I expect if they end up getting something done with a bigger contributor, like, let's say they were to get, let's dream a little and say that they're going to get Cody Bellinger. They do everything that they need to do. I would expect the news cycle on something like that to sound an awful lot like, well, yeah, the Pirates outbid. I know. Stop laughing for a second. Let me get through the sentence at least first. Cody Bellinger was expected to get $22.5 million. The Pirates gave him 26 for 3 years with an opt-out after 2, and the Yankees just couldn't get above 22. They just didn't see it being worth more than Grisham, right? I mean, like, that's a lot of money. I expect if you hear the Pirates win something like that, that's how I expect it to be. They outbid. They've never done it before. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh, that's the way it will work. This is what you should expect. But I'm saying that report has been verified 3 or 4 times. They had a deal on the table for Josh Naylor for over $80 million. That's information we haven't had here. That's a little different than back in the day when they swung and missed on David Price, remember? And everyone was like, I can't believe they were even in on David Price. I mean, some of us got, a little excited about that back in the day because that was the first time I had even heard a top tier free agent's name. And that was before the decent run last decade. But I mean, like, just knowing they're in that ballpark. First, if they miss and they don't wind up getting one of these higher echelon free agents, let's be reasonable. Okay, let's not make it have to be one of the top 2 or 3 free agents out there. But if they either get that or one of the guys from Japan or one of the top candidates from Korea, if they go that route and they really put their money where their mouth is and get something done, I don't think it fixes the team entirely. But I think it would definitely open a new chapter for this team. It would make things a little more fun for Pirates fans in general, just to dream, just knowing what's possible. Again, we're sitting here as a franchise that has never signed a free agent for more than 3 years, $39 million. And technically, very technically speaking, that was a free agent signing because you could consider it just an extension. It's not. It's a free agent signing because how it worked. But Frankie didn't leave first. He stayed where he was. So even that was a little different. This is not. This is like a willingness to spend big dollars on one player that I haven't seen. The other side of this, too, is if you're going to be willing to spend that kind of money on somebody like Josh Naylor, and you do swing and miss, I can think of a way that you could spend that $80 million. I can think you could spend it on some impact talent. Let's talk about the 19-year-old who might just skip the line and take over shortstop. I might give him my $80 million too. Just me. Let's not get carried away. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Let's close strong here today. You want to keep the conversation going, find me on socials. I'll link them in the show notes. But Gary MO2007 on X, Gary Morgan anywhere, Locked On Pirates anywhere, Pirates Fan Forum you can even find me on anywhere. Make sure you hit me up. Jeff Passan also reported the Pirates are strongly considering giving Konnor Griffin a shot to win the shortstop job in spring training. Griffin's just 19. He finished his pro debut with a 333 average, 415 on base percentage, and a 527. That's not right. Whoops. Sorry. Transpose the numbers. 21 home runs, 65 RBIs. Consensus minor league player of the year in 2025. Baseball's #1 overall prospect. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. And yes, he's played center field more than the dabbling that Jeff Passan suggests in his piece. He's legit versatile. So I would think this means they're not going to look for a long-term shortstop solution externally. That means probably get your Bo Bichette dreams out your head. Don't see that happening. Didn't see that happening anyway. But I mean, I would say, like, on a normal team, if you wanted to, if it was there for you, do it and move Griffin to center field. I mean, like, you don't have to worry necessarily about what you're leaving open for Konnor. But if Griffin wins this job, Nick Gonzalez and Nick York have second base. You got Termar Johnson coming pretty soon. They really do believe in him. If he's not ready, I would imagine they'll just short-term patch shortstop, because I can't imagine that you want to block him up. Even if he doesn't make it in spring, you're going to have to imagine that they give the competition a real look, right? So it's going to be a real competition for shortstop. And if by some chance they go, yeah, well, Konnor, it needed to be kind of along the lines of what Jared Jones did a couple years ago, or it really needed to be along the lines of what, Paul Skeens looks like, insane, undeniable, have to give you a shot. If it looks like there's anything out of place, anything. I mean, even if, like, you got a fresh haircut and a calic just will not go down, Konnor, you're going to go to the minors for a little bit. That's the most likely scenario. So let's not avoid it like it's not. And let's also not act like they're sending him to Auschwitz. I hate the way that everybody reacts to these kids. They do not have to start right away. There is no timetable besides ready. Ready? Not ready. That's it. And if you open the door to willingness for Konnor Griffin to win this job, I don't see any reason why you would doubt their willingness to actually make the move. Especially, you can call a lot of things wrong that this team does, but especially this team under Ben Cherington recently, they have been flying prospects, especially pitchers. Love to see them do it with a position player. Okay. I think Konnor Griffin's got a real shot here to be the opening day shortstop. First, I don't think the Pirates have a better option. I don't think there's going to be a better option via trade. I don't think there's going to be a better option via free agency. I think you could bring in a contingency plan. But I think your contingency plan might very well wind up being Nick Gonzalez or Jared Triolo or some mix thereof, or maybe even, at some point Jack Brannigan comes up and mixes into that third base situation. They've got a lot of outfielders and infielders that they could play with. Konnor can go anywhere. I think he's got a legitimate shot. I don't think this is a guess anymore as to whether he really could. I think you could have a couple rookies make this team right out of spring. We might have to make that a topic, actually, but I think Konnor Griffin is probably very likely to at least stick until you start getting towards the end of the spring. I would think a couple weeks left if they're going to give him a legitimate chance. You'll know right away how real this is because he's not on the roster. So if they start out spring and say 3 weeks in, they do that thing where they cut him and send him to minor league camp, well, you'll know right away they weren't really going to give him a chance. Okay. And that this was probably a false report. That's all there is to it. No way to, and I'm not saying Jeff lied to you. I'm just saying he was given a false bill of goods. That's all. And we've certainly been sold that stuff from the Pirates before. But if Konnor is legitimately in spring camp past that date where he could get injured and put on the 40-man and start his clock one way or another, then they're serious about it. They're basically saying, even if he gets injured, he's a major leaguer. We don't care. We're ready to start that clock. For once, though, I'd really like the Pirates to not shoot themselves in the foot. This is probably now the third year in a row that they've had what I consider to be a rookie of the year candidate before they even start, which is way too early to be deciding who is and isn't a rookie of the year candidate. I totally acknowledge that, guys. We're just having a little fun here. But they've had Paul Skeens, right? They've had Bubba Chandler, and now they've got Konnor Griffin. Don't mess with them. You know, don't take your own ability to get that draft pick compensation back for having a guy win Rookie of the Year. Don't put yourself in the same position that you just did with Paul Skeens, where you lose a year of control and you don't get anything out of it. Because even if they put him in the minors, guys, I can't see it going until like June. I really can't. They're going to need to address offense. I believe Konnor Griffin is a big part of that addressing of offense. And the last thing I'm going to say about this subject, this is a different situation than Ben Cherington's been in before. Okay? Like, as a baseball analyst, which I very much am, I can tell you, you might be wise to stretch out this Konnor Griffin thing a little bit. Get past the Super 2. Make sure you get that nailed. He won't win the Rookie of the Year this year if you wait long enough. The team will do okay because you've got better pieces. You are going to go out and sign that free agent, right? So you're going to make the team better, and the pitching staff's going to be insane. Konnor will come along, and he'll help and get the team where they go in the second half, and don't worry about it. It's more about how long we have Konnor. Well, if I'm a general manager that basically kept his job by dangling off of a cliff by a piece of dental floss, I don't think that I'm going to be thinking about 7 years down the road. I think I'm going to be thinking about right now and what I can do to make this team the best it can possibly be right now. And if that's the supposition, then we should fully expect Konnor Griffin and anybody else that looks like they could be transformative to have a real shot to make this club. That's it for today's episode. Tomorrow we'll dig a little bit deeper into what these moves mean for the opening day roster and how the Pirates' spending strategy could reshape expectations. Maybe we can look at some different candidates that I've ignored and thought were irrational before. Remember, we're serious about Pirates baseball here at Locked On Pirates because somebody has to be. Let's go, Bucs.